I first came to an ISKCON temple on Labor Day weekend, 1967, in Montreal. I was studying in Toronto, and I had come for the weekend to visit Expo. And I casually asked one of my friends, is there any Hindu temple in Montreal? He said, yes, the Americans have opened some temple here. Why don't you visit it? So I went to the Montreal temple on Labor Day weekend, 67. And I took part in the Sunday program. The kirtan just went on and on and on and on. And as I was leaving the temple, they had a visitor's book in which I wrote down my name and address. And after returning to Toronto, I started getting a letter every month informing me about the schedule and asking for donation. And in May 68, I received a letter. Our Swamiji is coming to Montreal on June 1st, 68. Please come and meet him. So I was planning on relocating back to Montreal in any case. And I arrived in Montreal on May 31st. And the first assignment the temple president gave me was to clean Prabhupada's apartment, because Prabhupada was coming the next day, and Prabhupada resided at 420 Prince Arthur. So I had the privilege of meeting Prabhupada on June 1st, 1968. And I had almost no exposure to sadhus in India. In fact, there was one Bengali gentleman, Mr. Mukherjee. We used to come to meet Prabhupada regularly. He told me, oh, the sadhu is different. Anyway, as time went along, I could see that Prabhupada was a genuine saint. He quoted from the scriptures. He never said something of his own. He was like a real well-wisher, very friendly. And he wanted everyone to be happy. But he knew that real happiness will only come if we follow the scriptures. And Prabhupada was always straightforward. And in those days, there were not so many devotees. Prabhupada actually stayed in Montreal for 3 months. He had some green card problems in America. So he had to go out of America. And he came to Montreal on June 1st, and he stayed on till August 68. And in those days, leaders from different parts of America would regularly come to meet Prabhupada. As I said, I had zero exposure to sadhus. I had never been to Vrindavan in my life. I had never even heard of Vrindavan or Mayapur before I met Prabhupada. And I had never heard of Lord Chaitanya. The brief introduction about Prabhupada was given to me by the Bengali gentleman who said, I've touched the feet of many sadhus, but he looks special. And as I said earlier, Prabhupada also gave me a lot of attention. I was Prabhupada's first Indian disciple in the West. And Prabhupada had a strong desire to also preach to the Indians. And he wanted them to take to Krishna consciousness. Actually, there was one Indian who had joined from Buffalo, but he didn't stay for long. In June 68, we had gone to a high school engagement in a Christian school. It was a school for girls, and there were many nuns in the school. And this program was arranged by a French-Canadian devotee called Janardhan Prabhu. He was doing his PhD at that time. So Prabhupada gave the lecture, and as usual after Prabhupada's lecture he would say, any questions? The same Mr. Mukherjee, who had told me that Prabhupada was a different type of saint, got up from his chair and started attacking Prabhupada. He started saying, why do you have to come and preach this philosophy in these Christian countries? They have their own philosophy. You don't need to do this. Devotees were very upset in the way he was being attacked. Prabhupada was not being criticized by the Christian nuns. He was being criticized by one of the people who came in his entourage. So devotees were very upset, and Prabhupada was very cool. In August, Prabhupada was leaving Montreal to go to America. And he told me, Gopal, go and call that Mr. Mukherjee. I said, Prabhupada, he insulted you so badly. Why do you want to see him? And Prabhupada said, I must have done something to him in my last life for which he took revenge. So Prabhupada, I called this gentleman, and Prabhupada blessed him before leaving. So from this we can see how magnanimous and merciful Prabhupada was. And even though this man had humiliated Prabhupada, he really attacked Prabhupada very badly. Prabhupada tolerated it, did not utter one word, and in fact he blessed him before leaving. So I think from this example we should draw inspiration and not retaliate the moment somebody criticizes us. We have to learn to practice Sinadapi Sunichena. When Prabhupada was in Montreal, he opened a bank account in the Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, and the branch, I believe, was on Sherbrooke Street. And Prabhupada told me to handle that account for him. So I was giving Prabhupada regular reports, and Prabhupada saw that the bank was charging a high fee for some reason. And Prabhupada was so concerned about saving every penny of Krishna's money. He said, tell the bank not to charge this fee. And Prabhupada, I think, they had closed the bank account because the bank was charging a high fee. As we know from numerous examples, Prabhupada's concern was not to waste even a penny of Krishna's money. He viewed everything as Krishna's property. And whenever he saw some misuse, he would take steps to stop it. As Prabhupada was in Montreal, many leaders would come there, and Montreal had become a focal point. In fact, Prabhupada saw some buildings in Montreal and said, this could be our world headquarters. He was at one time planning on making the world headquarters in Montreal. And Prabhupada saw everything as a possible. Prabhupada always was thinking how he can use everything in service of the Lord. There was one lady who came to meet Prabhupada, and Prabhupada, as usual, preached to her, please chant Hare Krishna mantra. The lady said, Swamiji, I'm always chanting, 24 hours. Prabhupada said, 24 hours? How do you chant? She said, I'm mentally chanting 24 hours. So Prabhupada said, when you're hungry, do you mentally eat or do you physically eat? She said, physically. Prabhupada said, no, you should start eating mentally. So she realized, and Prabhupada told her, if you want to chant the holy name, you should chant it and hear, not just mentally go on chanting. That is as good as no chanting. So this lady was convinced that what Prabhupada said was right. So Prabhupada emphasized that we should chant the holy name and hear the holy name. And as the scriptures say, the more attentive we are in chanting, the greater will be the effect, and the faster will be the cleansing of the heart. Prabhupada came to India with his Western disciples, I believe in 1971 or something. Anyway, they created a big stir. Prabhupada held festivals in major cities of India, and these festivals were attended by over 30,000 people. So, taking advantage of the popularity of the Hare Krishna movement, one leading movie star in India made a movie called Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. The movie was a big hit in India. It was a super hit. The positive thing in the movie was the Hare Krishna mantra was being played in the background in the whole movie, and they had a song which had the Hare Krishna mantra. But the weak point in the movie was it showed that devotees take drugs, then they feel high, and then they chant Hare Krishna. So this movie was released in India in 1973. So at that time I was residing in America, but I had just come to India for a holiday. So I met Prabhupada in Akash Ganga, and I told him, Srila Prabhupada, this movie is going to give our movement a bad name. Our movement was brand new in India at that time. And I said, this movie is showing that we chant Hare Krishna and people take drugs, so that will spoil our image. Prabhupada was totally undisturbed. He said, nothing will be lost. People will hear the Hare Krishna mantra and get purified. Don't worry. And very interestingly, about 3 years ago, I initiated a devotee in America, and I asked him, how did he join the movement? So he told me when he was a young kid, there was a movie release called Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. And he heard the Hare Krishna mantra in that movie. And after that, he fell in love with this mantra. And he would go everywhere where he could hear this song that was a big hit. But that movie planted the seed of Krishna consciousness in his heart. And 25 years later, or 35 years later, he got initiated. So what Prabhupada said was right. People will hear the holy name and benefit. Prabhupada is always right. We should know that. Before I came, there was almost no book production in India. So Prabhupada told me to start the book production. And Prabhupada was very keen that we publish a lot of books. At that time we were just beginning to publish books. So in 1976, I believe 77, I had arranged a very big book display of Prabhupada books in a very big book house called International Book House. This was a very big book house, and they were distributing Time and Reader's Digest. And the owner was a life member, and I was cultivating him. So I arranged a very big display in his store. We had Prabhupada books on display, we had all the promotion material, and we ran this promotion for 1 month. But after 1 month, not many books were sold. So I went to Prabhupada to give him a report that even though we had a very heavy promotion, prominent display in the windows, etc., we didn't sell a lot of books. And Prabhupada said, my books are sold because of the enthusiasm of my disciples. And in a store, nobody's enthusiastic. That's why. So we have seen that when devotees are enthusiastic, they achieve outstanding results. Doesn't matter what the service is, especially book distribution. And if we're not enthusiastic, if we do something half-heartedly, then the results are not the same. So Prabhupada repeated that twice or thrice. My books are sold because of the enthusiasm of my devotees. So I usually try and tell this story to some Kirtan devotees. And they all testify that when they're enthusiastic, they achieve very good results. So I went there in 1976. We took Prabhupada's books. We showed them to scholars in Moscow and Leningrad. At that time, St. Petersburg was called Leningrad. And they appreciated the books. And then we went there again in 1977. When I went there in 1977, the late Prithu Putra Maharaj was there, also in Bhugarba. So we took part in the book fair. It was a very big book fair. And in the end, we got a certificate from the Soviet government appreciating Prabhupada's books for bringing world peace. So I received the certificate in Bombay around September 1977. I took it to Prabhupada, who was in Vrindavan. His health wasn't so good. Prabhupada was so happy with that certificate that Soviet government has recognized Prabhupada's books as contributing to world peace. That Prabhupada showed that certificate to everyone who came. His godbrothers would come, he would say, this is the recognition we got from Soviet Union. Unfortunately, we've lost that certificate somewhere. I feel really sorry. But Prabhupada very much appreciated that the Soviet government was appreciating our books. One of the big problems in those days was visas for Americans. At that time, we virtually had no Indian devotees. Some were beginning to join, and 99% of our devotees were American. And they were all having visa problems. Constantly, they had to go out of the country and come back. So this was a great source of anxiety to Prabhupada. And he personally met and deputed me to meet people to try and get the Indian government to give us some concession. So I went and saw the Home Minister, the Foreign Minister of India at that time, who was Mr. Vajpayee. And I went to Vajpayee with a plea that some concession be given to ISKCON devotees. And when I came back to Vrindavan that evening and gave Prabhupada a report of the meeting, Prabhupada said, one day this man will become more important. He'll hold a very important position. And a few years later, he became the Prime Minister of India. Prabhupada was very concerned that we don't give away free books. We had a program in the Home Minister of India's house. Prabhupada personally came and gave the lecture. And after the lecture, I gave the Home Minister secretary many books, more than I should have. So some devotee told Prabhupada that I gave about 10, 12 books free. And next day Prabhupada was very, very upset. He said, you shouldn't give away these books like this. We should be very careful. In other words, Prabhupada didn't want us to freely give out books. I mean, he wanted these books to be respected. Sometimes when you give free, people don't value it so much. So I learned my lesson at that time. And I've been telling devotees, we should be very cautious how we give these free books. One day at 1 o'clock in the night, Prabhupada called for me. Prabhupada would often call for his secretaries and GBCs even in the middle of the night, because Prabhupada would be busy serving Krishna 24 hours. It's not that he went to sleep. He would get up at 10:30 in the night and start his translation work. So Prabhupada had written an ad. The ad was said in brief, open invitation from ISKCON to all of India. And the invitation was, Prabhupada said, India is a poor country. I will feed everyone. So he wrote an ad on the paper with his own handwriting. Open invitation, come and live with us, like us. And Prabhupada said, go tomorrow to all the newspapers, tell them to put this in the papers, and put billboards that ISKCON is inviting everyone to come and live with us, like us. So I asked Prabhupada, we don't have the means to do that. Where are we going to feed everyone and accommodate everyone? And Prabhupada said, come and live with us, like us. Like us means they have to follow our principles, chant Hare Krishna. And if they're ready to do that, then I will maintain all of them. Not that they could do their nonsense and we will maintain. So Prabhupada was very intelligent. He said, open invitation, come and live with us, like us. We were getting ready for the Kumbh Mela, and I think it was 77 or 76. It was a big Kumbh Mela. And we were thinking of publishing cheap books for mass distribution. So I think we published a small book. But many people were suggesting we print the Bhagavad-gita like Gita Press has without any purports. And they said, we'll sell lakhs. So I thought it was a good idea. And being the BBT manager, I went to Prabhupada and said, everyone is saying we can print the Gita like Gita Press without purports and we'll distribute lakhs. Prabhupada said, no, you can't print any book without purports. And he said, this is not acceptable. So the point is, Prabhupada's purports make us understand the books better. And without Prabhupada's purports, we are free to make our own interpretation. And Prabhupada was very keen that people understand this knowledge as it is. So I've told this to BBD managers all over the world. So before the Prabhupada's departure in Bombay, I was discussing with Prabhupada how I was going to manage the Bombay temple. And Prabhupada said, make a council and have decisions made in the council. And Prabhupada said there's a Bengali saying that if you make a decision in a group and something goes wrong, you can always say, I didn't make it alone. Everybody was a party to the decision. And if you do it on your own and something goes wrong, you take the blame. So Prabhupada wanted a small council to be involved in decision making. Prabhupada was very particular about cleanliness. So one day he was sitting in the front room and he just asked me, how is everything? And I said, okay. And then he looked up at the nest, looked up at the ceiling, and then he saw there was a nest in that small room with a bird or two inside. He said, you say everything's okay, this is okay? Okay, let's do it. Prabhupada had very, very sharp eyes. As some of you may know, Prabhupada would be translating books in the night. So one day he got up and he saw that the watchman wasn't there. The watchman at the front gate, at the gate in front of the guest house, wasn't there. So Prabhupada was very concerned. So he thought of a good plan. He told the watchman, every hour equal to the time, you have to ring the bell. And Prabhupada's logic was, if the watchman has to ring the bell every hour, he won't go to sleep. So that was the background that led to the introduction of the watchman ringing the bell every hour. Prabhupada was an expert manager. He knew how to solve all problems. To attract donations, we have to give the donor some tax benefit. And we were having trouble in maintaining our tax-exempt status. So many professional lawyers and chartered accountants suggested, why don't you set up a research institute? And if you set up a research institute, the government will give you 100% tax exemption. So we came up with a plan that we'll have a research institute called Vedic Research Institute. So I went to Prabhupada and said, this plan could attract a lot of donations, and we can establish a Vedic Research Institute. And Prabhupada said, why Vedic Research Institute? Vyasadeva has done all the research. We don't need to do any further research. And there's no need of Vedic Research Institute. So Prabhupada was not interested that it will attract more donations. Prabhupada wanted to preserve the purity, and he was concerned that under the banner of Vedic research, we may speculate, whereas he has given us the real philosophy in his purports to the books that he published.
Although naturally we were, sad to receive the news, but
Prabhupada was in his room doing his japa when some guests came in and they started knocking at the door saying they want to see Prabhupada. The secretary said Prabhupada is taking a rest. But Prabhupada overheard some people want to see him, and they were disappointed that they couldn't see him. So Prabhupada was so concerned that he told his secretary, let them come in, open the door. And Prabhupada sat for 2-3 hours and preached to the guests. So but this just shows how Prabhupada was always concerned about preaching. And even when he wasn't physically well, he did not stop his preaching. And as we know, in Vrindavan, even in his last few months on the planet, when he wasn't physically well, he did not stop his translation work. He would go on with his translation. He had Padumna read the Sanskrit. He had somebody helping him sit down. He was virtually whispering the purports. But he did that because he wanted to save humanity. He wanted to leave behind scriptures that could save humanity. So we should also cultivate a similar mood. As far as I can see, Prabhupada was a Vaikuntha man. Once Prabhupada was asked to speak about his spiritual master. And Prabhupada said, what can I speak? He was a Vaikuntha man. So Prabhupada was also a Vaikuntha man. In my opinion, he possessed all the 26 qualities. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had predicted that the holy name will be chanted in every town and village of the world. And I have no doubt that Prabhupada appeared to fulfill this realization, this prediction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Prabhupada was an empowered preacher, and one great Acharya, one great Vaishnava said he was a Shaktavesh avatar, but he was an empowered preacher who was sent by Lord Chaitanya to take the holy name to every corner of the globe. And today we see that Prabhupada's glories are increasing even faster. You can go to any corner of the globe, people have heard of Prabhupada. In fact, many people come to the temple and say, when is Swamiji going to speak? In fact, many people write and say, where's the author of these books? And Prabhupada's fame is all over the world. And as we preach and spread the movement, his fame will increase more and more. We have to understand that everything we need to know is there in Prabhupada's books. Have faith in the books. Have faith in Prabhupada's instructions. Follow the GBC body. And we will be able to cross over insurmountable problems. But we need to be determined to follow Prabhupada's path. Not that we say, yes, I'm a Prabhupada Nuga, and do my
Je anilo premadana Karuna prachu